Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again to Dynamos Dozen, the podcast that I bring you each and every single week where I talk about whatever may be on my mind, from pro wrestling, sports, entertainment, music, movies, muesli, fresh shocks and jocks, and everything in between, never forgetting the talk. And you are all very, very welcome back to today's show. And like always in recent times, we are talking about pro wrestling again. Trust me, we have a banger next week that is not pro wrestling. It's a returning guest. I'll let you know near the end. So continue to watch. But of course, my right-hand man on these shows is, of course, the shopkeeper, Niall Hogan. He only gets to be the shopkeeper on this show because he's football mad in every other way. And so am I with my own show. But Niall likes to come on these shows and just take a step back away from football sometimes and talk about his other passion, that is pro wrestling. Niall, welcome to the show, my brother.
Yeah. Cheers, man. Thanks for having me on. First of all, happy birthday. Hope you're having a good one.
You know what? I have I may as well let the people know what's going on today. We have the green can and we have the little bit of bourbon.
Today's show is sponsored by Honey Jack Daniels and Heineken.
Except we're not going to see a cent of it, but you know what? It makes you feel good on your birthday, so why not?
So long as you're gonna enjoy the journey, that's the main thing.
That is the main thing, and we do have a hell of a journey to bring our listeners on this week because last week was a highly viewed show, I have to say. You know, in recent terms, I know Dynamos Dozen has been going on its own since the breakup of the DPN, and that was actually nice to see last week. We got kind of higher numbers. We got really high numbers in the actual audio, so I was actually blown away. In fact, we got nearly as many, if not more, on the audio than and we did in the YouTube. So it was kind of an old school feeling that I got, a little warm feeling as I took a little sip of that beautiful honey Jack Daniels bourbon there. It was like, that's the feeling I got last week without the buzz.
That's the radio DJ in you.
That's it, you know what I mean? Mark McCabe of a Saturday for any Irish listeners. So it was actually really, really cool, and it was cool to see emails coming in again on the Dynamos Dozen Gmail, which is obviously dynamosdozen@gmail.com. So it was really nice to kind of see people happy about us talking about current pro wrestling again. So, and I think a lot of people appreciated how fair we were, because I think, you know, it can be misleading. Tony Khan rants and Eric Bischoff probs, but it could be a bit misleading that we think we're going in on AEW. I think it's quite the opposite. I think it was quite a balanced conversation at the end of it.
Contrary to popular belief, we want them to succeed.
Exactly, because it benefits all of us. So,
but like any other wrestling fan, we wanted our way, not their way, our way, even though we wanted to succeed.
Yes, I offer like kind of analytical solutions, or at least I try to, and try to think try to think almost as an old school promoter, kind of sense and kind of look back and see what's come before and what can they utilize from that time period that will bring them success today. And I think that's what we both did.
A great man once stood on a wrestling stage and told Triple H, I've no shades here to put on, but he told Triple H, what was that line? You're going to give me what I want. Love Batista.
It's true. So today we said we'd actually bring you something a little bit old school and go through some of the kind of hot topics, some of the news doing the rounds at the moment. And I suppose there's only two places to go here. We get the bad news out of the way, because I, like you, hate injury news. And we've two main event level talents here now that are on the shelf for quite a while. One who was the newly crowned fucking AEW champion that we mentioned last week, CM Punk, is now out, done a great job, by the way, in that promo with the speech. Quite emotional, you could tell. But you know, it was as only Punk can do, to be fair. It was pretty emotional, you know, speech to. It was a great speech in the sense of he came out sad and then kind of built the crowd back up a little bit, saying, "I'll be back." You know what I mean? So, great work from Punk. And then, of course, listen, I've been talking about this man for a long time and about how great he is. And I'll tell you one thing: if you people out there sitting on your couches, eating your ice creams and your popcorns are gonna throw any badness in the direction of Cody Rhodes, well, then leave this show right now and never watch pro wrestling again, because that man is a Trojan warrior for what he done the other night. Taking off the coat and the pectoral, fucking hell, I've never seen. Jesus. I mean,
it's just...
who the fuck was working backstage that allowed that to even happen? Oh, this was a throwback to the old school. And I'll tell you one thing. Let's actually start with Cody, because, man, we saw a video. He put up a picture yesterday, didn't he? And it's gone down literally to the wrist. Like, this looks like gangrene or some sort of fucking, infection rather than a pectoral pull. This guy came out.
No, if you're familiar with it, when it snaps, and it's like like an elastic.
Of course.
So what happens is it snaps and
goes, resonates all through. Yeah.
Absolutely. Triple H had it before as well, and you're saying his one as well. His whole body was bruised on one side.
Well, that was the Saudi karma, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've witnessed one happening in a gym during a bench press.
I've only heard of it. I didn't witness it now. I'd say there's
videos out there on YouTube now, and it's like an alien running through your body when it happens. It's scary. Yeah.
So
nice.
I mean, here's me with a back brace on for the last 2 weeks, thanks to the wonderful world of pro wrestling back in the day. Well, that's good old NWA Ireland with a layer of carpet and a load of timber wood. Thanks, guys. But
paying your dues.
Paying my dues, yeah. Something like
You're
that.
Still paying them.
Yeah. I'm only 38 today, guys. I'm not even 40. But I'm okay. It's only muscle. Yeah, Cody to come out and have the belter of a match that he did with Seth Rollins. We're not going to go through the match or anything like that. By the way, quick little side note: Seth Rollins come out in the dusty gear is just absolutely genius. I absolutely love it. I love it.
His shithousery is different level, isn't it?
You know what? It's funny enough. We will go on to that on another episode, but you would kind of call that, didn't you? He needs to start finding himself, and that is exactly what he needs to. That's his
level.
That is perfect. But Cody having the balls to come out and do that, I mean, I gotta say, like, that's an old school mentality. Not always the right mentality, because now he's out for 6 months to 7 months. But I mean, he knew he was probably going to be out for that period of time anyway. To come out and have the match that he did, my goodness, that is just next level badass. And I think he's probably earned his money in that one. In fact, not even just a match. He's actually earned his money and the right to be called one of the modern greats, just for even having the balls to do that. And I think people need to start putting some respect under that man's name.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he lacks any respect. I think a lot of people respect him out there, but he certainly he brought a new flavor to card subject to change, didn't he?
Holy shit, man!
That's card subject to no change.
Yeah, I ain't fucking changing nothing, bitch. I'm going out now. I'm wrestling. My God, yeah. Just we won't dwell too much on it, but absolute props to Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, normally a pec tear like that, depending on the condition of you and the athlete that you are, and your typical routine, can be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. I think Hunter took about 5. I think Cena, when he did, I think he took about 3.5 to 4. Again, it depends on whether it's a full rip or whether it's a partial tear, and you can normally tell by the volume of bruising. Cody's one looks like he did a proper. Look, commend him for doing the match when you're there and you're on the billing and it's that close to it and stuff like that. It's just unfortunate he's come back and like he was on this wave and stuff like that, and it's just being halted for the moment, let's say. But yeah, Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, kind of commend them for doing it, but also, as you said, someone backstage should be pulling that aside and going, "What do you really think? Could we get you back in 3 months instead of 6 months if you don't do the match?"
Yeah, well,
They could have
that was
maybe they could have structured the match in a different way that it ended quickly, or someone attacked them on the ramp and there's a new storyline or something like that. So going through that match, hats off to him. It wouldn't be me. I've seen tech pairs and stuff like that. I'd be an A&E if it was me. So he's a better man than I am.
no, you and me both. I mean, straight away when I saw it, I was like, the first question. That was the first question I asked. I was like, okay, what trainer okayed this? You know what I mean? This is. I mean, this is stuff that AEW have been kind of accused of being stupid with in the past. You know what I mean? With concussions and stuff like that. Remember the famous Matt Hardy one with
Yeah.
Sammy Guevara. You know what I mean? This is just as stupid. I mean, you're potentially fucking damaging yourself long term. So
Yeah, I think sometimes they have to be protected from themselves a little bit as well. I
yeah,
think Cody is an old school guy and stuff
exactly,
like that.
exactly.
And he is on this wave of trying to create a legacy in relation, in memory of his dad and stuff like that and all. And that's probably the overbearing thing. And I'd say probably at the gorilla position or where it was, or the medics or whatever, I'd say there was no stopping him. He said, "I'm going out there and you're not going to stop me." And that's the way it is. I'm trying to build a legacy here, and a bit of bruising and a pec tear ain't going to stop no one. And, in that respect, hats off to him. But if it was 3 months instead of 6 months, then maybe it wasn't the right thing to do. But look, it looked super sore. You had a very good match with Seth. And hats off to both of them. And I'm sure Seth knew about it as well. And I'm sure he worked around it as well. You could see in the way he was working it as well and stuff like that. And, including it in the match and stuff like that was done really, really well. So.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But no, look, get well soon, Cody. Absolutely. Absolute Trojan. Absolute Trojan.
Yeah.
CM Punk, obviously the ankle injury. He's not necessarily vacated the title, but there's an interim kind of job going on here, which I thought was pretty different and pretty cool. You know what I mean? Something a little bit different to the WWE. Usually they vacate the title, but it's going to be an interim title tournament going on here. And obviously it is this kind of segues nicely. It goes into AEW's and New Japan, AEW X New Japan Forbidden Door, which is a pay-per-view which is going to be coming out of Chicago later this month, June 26th, from the United Center, which I think is a really smart piece of booking, to be fair.
Yeah.
Location. I think it's actually very fucking
well up until the injury.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%. But it's still a smart piece of booking either way, because it's, there's always a hot crowd there, and that audience know who they like and who they don't like. So
massive Ring of Honor crowd, massive Ring of Honor crowd in Chicago.
Wouldn't be surprised if you saw an appearance from Punk there, even in the front row or something, like the way they do UFC style. Do you know what I mean? But it's interesting because Moxley defeated Kyle O'Reilly to advance to the main event of that pay-per-view, where he'll wrestle either our boy Hiroshi Tanahashi or Hiroki Goto for the interim AEW World Championship, which I like the way they're calling it, an interim World Championship, which means obviously that's going to be, they're kind of going that UFC route to bring some legitimacy, which I like, because it means that when Punk comes back, he's never lost the belt. There has to be that, that winner takes all match. Interesting choice, I suppose, to go with Moxley, right? Especially when you're going.
He's great. He's great chemistry. He's done a lot of work in New Japan and stuff like that, and
he's done well over there
really
too.
Good chemistry with a lot of those guys. Yeah, he's been exceptional over there, and they really take to that kind of psycho hard style and stuff like that as
Stan
well.
Hansen
for him as well. Yeah. So it works really good. Tanahashi as well is supreme. He's absolute golden.
He's fantastic. He's the Bret Hart of Japan, really, isn't he? I've said that for a long time, actually.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But Moxley, since his comeback, seems to have a different aura about him, doesn't he? Seems to have a bit of a, since he's obviously shaking the alcohol and stuff like that, which is again fucking super commendable. Got himself better, and looks better for it, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, from the bits I've seen, looks like he's kind of taken himself I mean, he's always taken himself seriously, but I think he's more probably open to working these styles of matches now, and probably a little bit more believable character, less of the car crash kind of stuff. Would be
Yeah, I think when you go off and you go through what he's had to go through and all, and get better, I think it gives you time to reflect on what you really want in life and stuff like that. And because you're not absorbed and you're in that kind of spiral of downhill of alcohol or whatever it is, you know what I mean? You see things slightly clearer, and things that weren't as important to you during those times become very important to you now, like your legacy, like your body of work, like the way you present yourself and stuff like that. You know yourself, when you're on the beer and you're on the rip or whatever it is, you know what I mean? You don't care about your appearance. You don't really care about your health.
well, you
You
do
make
when you're
really
going
bad
out, but then
decisions.
if it kind of goes downhill overnight, you don't really give a shit. Yeah,
Yeah, and then of course, and you make kind of bad decisions and stuff like that, and where you should be producing 5-star matches, you're kind of showing up at a 3.5. And he's come back. He's been excellent. Fair play to him. He realizes now what's important in life and stuff like that. And he's one of those guys who could genuinely build a real legacy in pro wrestling, because he has a huge dynamic in terms of what he's able to deliver. He can give you a straight up match. He can give you a hard hitting match. He's able to do the hardcore stuff. He's able to wrestle that hard Japanese style. There's a dynamic to John Moxley really that people sometimes don't realize. And being sort of clean and off all that stuff and all, I think there's a huge opportunity for him to lay down a real legacy now that I thought would never happen. From watching these podcasts, I wouldn't have been a huge John Moxley fan. But I tell you, he's going to win me over again now, the way he's come back and really focused on what is his job.
me too. Yeah, I concur. And firstly, I'm always for the boys, as I always say. Health is your wealth, and you don't get wealth without it. So absolutely, hats off to the guy. He obviously got a young family and all that stuff there, and it's great to see him back killing it. And I'd actually be intrigued to watch that match actually if it was him and Tanahashi. I suppose let's talk a little bit about, just because we don't really know a lot about what's happening here. You know what I mean? We'll probably know more in the next week or two, but I'm intrigued by this AEW x New Japan Forbidden Door thing. I like it. It kind of brings me back to what Bischoff was doing with WCW and New Japan back in the day, the way they do, show swaps and stuff like that. But they never had that massive supercard on US TV. Now there's an opportunity for a lot of fans to see the New Japan guys that they've only heard of, or, for some of the casuals. I'm not saying there's a big amount, but some of the casuals, I think that's a really, really kind of smart call, isn't it? I think, anyway.
Yeah, it is. And it's kind of replication. They're doing a little bit of what TNA used to do as well when they did the Global War stuff and stuff like that. The TNA boys used to head over to Japan, and the likes of Christian and AJ Styles and all those guys, they used to wrestle those guys over there in 6-man tags and tournaments and all that kind of stuff. And it was really, really cool to see the crossover. I get it. Japanese wrestling isn't for everyone. But there's a certain style to it, and an honor and an art to it. And they demand the best out of their opponents as well. You'll rarely see a US guy go into a ring with a Japanese guy and get away with it. They let you know very, very quickly, and it's intriguing. But it's the kind of matches like Moxley versus one of those guys is a kind of match where it's different for the AEW audience, because you're gonna have to sit back. It's nearly like watching a martial art. You're gonna have to pay respect to it and stuff like that. It's not your usual kind of stuff, and you'll see by the style. Even Moxley will change up his style somewhat when he's in with those guys, because he knows who he's going in with. And for them, it's wrestling royalty. Tanahashi is wrestling royalty. Make no mistake about it. It's just, as I said, the style is not for everyone, but the ability and the body of work and the legacy and everything, and like, it must be amazing for those guys, because all year long they're wrestling the usual roster type stuff and the stories that go, and then once a year you get the opportunity to step in with gold, and you get to produce gold. And the one thing those guys demand is 100%.
Really, and I believe I've got this right as well. There's two people that are, one of them is your boy, One of them is kind of my boy, which a lot of people still fight me over, but that's okay. Um, Okada, who is pretty much their main star.
Yeah.
It's up in the air between Hangman and Adam Cole. I don't see why Adam Cole would be in that conversation, if I'm being honest, because I think he's been acting the bollocks since he's gone back to AEW. I think Hangman has at least had the world championship and, you know, uh, put together a little body of work there and whatnot. I think if I'll be honest with you, I mean, I can understand this is the problem that we had last week. This is where we come into the balancing and the juggling act when you're buying too many fucking, when you're buying too many kind of pedigree fucking top level horses. You're like, right, you want them to race together all the time, but at the end of the day, if they're just all superstars, then where's the payoff? Which is the standout? You know what I mean? And I think Hangman was the guy that they've obviously put the money into. They put money into obviously Adam Cole coming in because they got him from WWE to bring him back, but Adam Cole hasn't really been packaged as the top guy yet, whereas Hangman has. So, I mean, it's a bit of an awkward situation, that booking, isn't it? You know,
It is. It is. This is one where when we talk about styles, and you look at Okada. Okada's a kind of an acquired taste in terms of the way he wrestles and stuff like that. He's very much. It's very much sort of. I don't want to say premeditated as well. And I know we talk about the business, but in the way that he actually works and methodically goes through a show, like this is a guy who can keep you on the edge of your seat for 5 minutes on a headlock. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty when we talk about the art of these guys. If you ask me to pick one, I love Adam Cole. There's no doubt about it. I don't have a problem with Hangman either. I think if you're talking about styles and matching styles here, I think Adam Cole's style matches up better to Okada. I think with Hangman's style, I think it's just a little bit, I don't know, what would you describe it? Just a little bit too loose. Yeah, but a little bit too loose maybe for Okada. And I'd be concerned with the stuff that they tried to put together. It might go a little bit arseways. I think with Adam Cole, I think he's just a bit more. I think Adam Cole's style as well, even though it's that hard hitting style as well, but it's a little bit more methodical in the way he deals with an opponent.
Well, he can.
And I think his style
he can do. Yeah, I mean,
he's going to have to hear with if it's Okada, you're going to have to, because again, this is what they demand. You're not going to get away with the shithousery you get away with week on AEW TV when you're stepping through the ropes with a guy like Okada.
I suppose where I'm looking at this and where I'm coming from is like, who needs it more? You know what I mean? And I'm thinking Hangman could probably deal with it more.
Well, if you want to keep him elevated from the title drop, definitely.
And also, but also the experience of being in there with an Okada after being in there with a Punk, keep the kid fucking, on that trajectory where, because look, Adam Cole's been able to make Pat McAfee have a great match. Well, now, in fairness, Pat McAfee was well capable of going in there and doing it himself. But Adam Cole has been around the Shawn Michaels. He's been in there with the Finn Balors. He's, been in the training camp with Triple H and with our own John Moss. Shout out to John Moss. Like he's come from that. Whereas Adam Page is he's the guy that I think could really do well by sitting under the learning tree of going in there in a pay-per-view with an Okada, with a different fucking opponent altogether. Not being able to call those silly shots, you know what I mean? And actually going in there with a master of their craft. So I would be, listen, I'm intrigued to see the Adam Cole match too. I'm intrigued, but I'm thinking with my coach hat on here, you know what I mean? How do we keep this guy's momentum up? That because we've invested a lot of TV time. We put the belt on the kid. He's lost the belt now. Can we put him in there with an Okada? Can he almost fucking that's a way to make Hangman's stock rise, and that's where I'm saying who needs it more.
Yeah, I suppose the two things to look at here. First of all, Adam Cole in AEW has been handled terribly. I
Oh,
mean, they didn't ride the crest of the wave. This guy was Mr. NXT for 3 years.
mhm.
Absolutely carried the brand, regardless of what people say, and had some great opponents. And what they should have done is they should have filtered that along instead of absolutely dissolving him into the background of the elite. It was crazy. They should have kept him away, and they should have built brand Adam Cole. So that was the first mistake. I think really in terms of this, I think the sensible booking would say Hangman, yeah, and absolutely build his brand and continue that on and stuff like that. That's what the sensible head would say. But we know at times in AEW, it's not always the sensible head that books the show. And that's where my concern would be. I don't really have a preference for either. I do think that styles make matches, and that would
Yeah.
be my only concern. My fear would be if Hangman goes in there, and you know I'm a Hangman fan as well. I think if he goes in there and he's up against a guy like Okada, and it doesn't go, that style doesn't blend, I think it could look like a really bad match. And then what happens? That risk of that as well, you know.
I have an answer for that. This is where the old pro wrestler comes in here, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but this is something that I was told from a very, very early age. I remember, I'm from the old school crowd, as you know, where Secrets of the Ring with Raven were a thing. The problem with a lot of modern pro wrestlers is that they're afraid of fucking up. Their image is everything. Blah blah blah. I've got to look this way. I've got to look cool doing that move. I've got to look, I've got to look great. This could be a TikTok, all that kind of stuff. And I get it. It's the modern way. However, the reason great professional wrestlers were made and how they became great is because of fucking up. It's experience.
No, I wasn't coming in terms of like maybe the match mightn't go the way people thinking it might go wrong.
Oh,
what
yeah,
I was
yeah.
saying is maybe when those two styles come together, your expectation in an Okada match
Oh,
is
no,
to
I
get
get
a
it.
five-star match. What I'm saying, this could deliver a 3-star match. There might be no mistakes in it, but just because of the way the styles come together, it doesn't deliver the expectation of what they want.
100%. I know you weren't
Yeah.
having a knock or having a
I wasn't
go.
worried. I wasn't worried about botch moves or anything like that. We know that happens. That's part of the
But what I'm saying is, for me, I'm like, if I'm Tony Khan and I'm looking at my investment, I'm like, right, this is the kid that's been with me from day one. This is the one that I want to make. It's like Eric Bischoff with Goldberg, right? This is the star that I can make that came from our system. We put him in there with an Okada, and he had like he's presenting himself to the world, even though he's already been presented to the world because he's been a champion. Yeah. But we could really push him a lot more here, and he could gain a lot from it. So that's the only reason I think it would make sense for Hangman. But look, listen, if I get to see Adam Cole and Okada, I know what I'm getting. You know what I mean? So
the one thing it does, what it does do is people are going to be watching. That's the most important.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And watching with bated breath. Let's move on to WWE. One of your suggestions today. Good old friend of my football team, Stamford Bridge, by the way, Chelsea Football Club, Mr.
Probably an investor.
Probably an investor, because he looked very happy to be there.
Yeah.
Even though I couldn't see him.
Brings a new meaning to you can't see me, doesn't it? It's just
but
you can't see where the money's coming
from. Well, look, you as a Liverpool fan, you have LeBron, so we're allowed to have John Cena. So it's and that's okay. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't.
Well, you guys also have the LeBron of US soccer, so it's not a bad thing.
Hey, you know. Well, if recent rumors are to believe, you want them, but even though we know that's bullshit, but that's a story for a different show.
Definitely.
John Cena returns, or his inevitable return, which, listen, everyone that knows, like, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Chelsea fan, Niall knows I'm a John Cena guy as well. John Cena has single-handedly put Niall, his wife, his kids through college. Even before John Cena was born, he put them through college. So
John Cena paved my way through the dark days of the property collapse and the banking collapse in this country and saved my ass. That's all I'm going to say on it. I'm very happy to see him back. If you're a wrestling fan and you're not a John Cena fan and you can't see it for what it is because you can't see him, well, then you need to check yourself and think about this business.
Before you wreck
Absolutely
yourself.
Stellar. Delighted to have him back. Absolutely delighted.
So, Niall, you know a little bit more about this than me, and you kind of made my day when you chose this as a topic of conversation. So I'm going to hand this one over to you because it's like for me now, when I hear The Rock could potentially be coming back, or whoever, it's like John Cena is now that other name that when I hear him coming back because of what he's been doing with that beautiful whatever hairdo he's got going on, it's just immaculate. I'm in. I'm all in. No pun intended. So tell us the sus.
Well, you know what they say: absence makes the heart grow fonder. I don't know. This is a kind of weird one because we've seen in the past when these guys return from a little stint in Hollywood and stuff like that, and it's hard to know really how the crowd is going to react.
You mean Hogan and The Rock?
Yeah, but the way they kind of they come back expecting it to be a certain way, and then they get shot on because you left us. You were our boy, and you left us. But no, I think he'd be welcome back. I think I'm not sure which brand he's going to go on and stuff like that, but certainly both brands are missing just that little bit of star power. I think that he kind of.
So is he coming back for a run? Like,
well, I know the plan is to come back. There's supposed to be a match at SummerSlam, isn't it? That's what they're touting.
Okay.
But I'd imagine it might be a match at SummerSlam that might lay down a foundation. And I'm going to put this out here now. Lay down a foundation for WrestleMania next year in terms of, because we know it's in LA, so it's Hollywood, so it would make sense. And I'm not too sure what way it's going to go. It could be a case where Cena goes into a storyline there with Reigns or something like that some way navigates its way to The Rock. Because I think if we're talking WrestleMania, we're talking the new Sophie Stadium, we're talking Hollywood, we're talking Rock, we're talking Reigns, we're talking.
Well, it was
Cena.
The talk was this year with The Rock, wasn't it? But he said he needed, apparently, through the grapevine, was that he needed another year. So,
yeah. Not physically now. Physically, he looks great.
No, but I would say he needed another year because he was looking after his fucking cuz, man. To be fair,
yeah, I'd say the draw of Hollywood as well in LA will be massive for this.
And look, he was looking after his boy Roman too. It's like Roman doesn't need me at this moment of time. The Rock's a smart businessman too, and also he's very loyal to the family. So I mean, he was probably going.
It could potentially lay down a nice storyline there, where Cena comes out and he goes, I sorted out your other boy, the other tribal chief, the other head of the table, and I'll sort you out too.
What about a triple threat? Imagine a triple. I know triple threats aren't great, but a triple threat with just for the spectacle: John Cena, Roman Reigns, and The Rock. This is like the initiation into Hollywood without the Satanism.
Yeah,
without the baby blood.
Could be even could even go with one of those handicap matches where The Rock turns on the head of the table or something like that, and dispels the family or something. Like the limitations are like there's no limitations.
Inside joke just to wind up the Dazzler on your show. Could even get Tom Hanks reffing it. Initiation. Have him wearing a gown.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if you've seen the video. I don't know if you've seen the video there the other day. He visited a family that had fled the Ukraine. I don't know if you've seen this.
John?
And he flew all the way. Yeah, John Cena. He granted a wish. There was this kid who fled the Ukraine and survived. I don't know what country he was exactly in. It might have been a neighboring country like Poland or something like that. But he got on a plane and he traveled to the country. And he granted a wish to the kid, and he showed up and made a huge deal out of it and stuff. That it's an unbelievable video. Check it out online if you haven't seen it yet. But he traveled the length and breadth of the globe to make this happen, which I thought was it just confirms the stellar human being that we know that he is. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah,
pick the right team. Pick the right team as well. I love him. Sorry. uh, I had to be a dickhead there.
They all move in the same circles, don't they? All those rich kids.
Oh, good Lord. You telling me? You're telling me? Right. I suppose
maybe Bowley's going to bring him into the training center and get him to put the boys through their paces in the weight room or something.
Yeah, maybe Mourinho might ask for a loan of him as well for Tammy, just to get a couple of biceps on there, and might scare defenders a little bit more. Although I don't think Reece James needs it. Just saying.
No, Reece James, I'm sure, can hold his own.
Yeah, although when you're standing beside John Cena, it's a different conversation.
Yeah. As we said in the past, those forearms, scary.
Oh, I've seen them. I've seen them right beside me, and it's like, yeah, I don't even want to show my forearm now.
They represent most lads' biceps.
They represent most lads' toys.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's only one place to finish. I know I'd sent you the agenda today. MJF, obviously.
Yeah,
we saw the latest, the modern pipe bomb, which was, wow, out of this world, I thought. And I suppose the reason I'm bringing it up is the follow on from it, that like his name hasn't been mentioned on Dynamite at all since.
They took his merch down.
Took his merch down. Took everything down. Unfollowed him from Twitter. Everything. This is, I'm convinced those 200 views were the lads working backstage in last week. We're working backstage in AEW, and kind of went, we need some of that Dynamos doesn't rub here and get some knowledge, because my God, similar to what we were saying and the changes that we need to make, or what they need to make, what a difference a week makes, right? What the fuck?
Absolutely. Yeah, someone's tuning in. There's no doubt about it. Someone's obviously tuning in. Either that, or we're Mystic Mac and we're on the crystal ball here.
It's one or the other.
Stuff out, but yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting dynamic there. He's absolutely sensational, no doubt about it. I can't imagine what it takes backstage if we go with the line that it's storyline. But I can't imagine what it takes backstage, where you're sitting backstage and you have to get yourself into that zone to go out there and deliver that type of performance on the mic. Absolutely sensational. The emotion that bled out of him through the mic and everything was off the scale. And, only for we're kind of alerted to what we know and stuff like that, he'd have you believing. He'd definitely have you believing.
It's one of those things, right, which I like, because we always say, even the smart marks, they know everything. And now even the smart marks are kind of going, we don't know. Now, I'm going to let you little boys and girls in on it if you're doubting the validity of whether it was real or not. 5 seconds now to switch off if you don't want to believe that Santa Claus is real or the Easter Bunny is real or not. 2, 3, 4, 5. It is a work, and it's a fucking great work. A great work. They're using a situation now for once to their benefit. They really, really are. Now, look, it could be a situation where MJF is actually pissed off the way Punk was when he was in WWE. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But finally, we're seeing some realism in there, where it's like, it's a real emotion. You're looking at an actual bona fide, well, he's already a star, but on a small scale. This guy is going to go to the moon, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if he goes to WWE, I don't want to say if and when, because maybe he is a loyal motherfucker and just wants what he's got. But I'm telling you here now, if I've got Tony Khan's keys and I'm looking at my key players, this guy is my guy. You know what I mean? This is your Roddy Piper. This is the modern day Roddy Piper. This is, forget about the modern day CM Punk and all that kind of stuff, because CM Punk and all that will tell you himself was built on the back of the likes of the Roddy Pipers of this world. MJF is the exact same. He's your guy. He's your piece that you build to become the guy that people either want to hate, the women want to fuck, or and when that switcheroo comes around, then when that little switcheroo comes around, and then he becomes a face, I believe he has the stones to pull that off too. So this guy is absolutely brilliant, and I definitely see a Hollywood future in this guy's horizon anyway.
Yeah, I wonder has he decided that he wants to leave? I wonder, is he not happy? I know he's been involved in a lot of really good stuff in AEW, but for the level of the really good stuff he's been involved in, he hasn't really come out with the shine that he kind of deserves, that kind of way. And he's been quite vocal about it as well. And I wonder has he decided that he wants to leave? And I wonder, is there a bit of validity within the work insofar as he's probably turned around to Tony and said, Tony, look, I'm not going to re-sign for you. I want to go to WWE. But I'll tell you what, if I've got a year left on my contract or whatever it is, I'm going to give you the best year of your life, and this is how we're going to do it. And I'm going to make sure that I give you everything that you want for the next year to leave on the right note. And maybe that's where this all comes in and stuff like that. But he's absolutely sensational. And look, he has the world on the internet talking about him, doesn't he? And he has been since he's been in AEW. We've been on that MJF train for a long time now at this stage.
We have.
And I think if he goes into WWE as well, I think he could be sensational.
But you know what? I'm actually going to go out on a limb here and say that's the wrong move for him at this time. Because
well, I think you're probably talking 12 months down the road as well. You know what I mean? So probably then might be the right time.
It's just I'm looking at them like, is Vince going to be like, well, MJF's not our guy. Are we going to call him fucking LA Knight? Are we going to call him LA Woman? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, this is my problem. This is where, because WWE also has the flip side, because you don't know what way Vince's brain works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the pop there. if MJF came out the way Cody did, but at WrestleMania 39 because it's in Hollywood.
Well, listen, I'm look, you always have a way of selling me, and I'm all in on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking for him right now, if I'm Tony Khan, and I think this already should have been done, he is your heel champion, right? If you want Punk to be your good guy and you want to keep Punk as the good guy, because it seems to be the way Tony wants to go for whatever reason. And of course, now after the injury, he's not going to come back as a heel either, is he?
No.
Because he's going to come back to an audacious pop unless Punk sees the light himself and goes, no, let's do that, but let's flip it, because we know Punk has that ability. But, whatever. Saint Punk to Tony, it seems to be the way.
Yeah.
He's got to be your heel champion, right? As the antagonist, he's got to be your heel champion. I mean, this has got, it makes no fucking sense to me. This guy, like, you're riding the crest of a wave off the back of that. You're thinking, right, he could be involved in this fucking pay-per-view somehow, and he still could, by the way. He still could.
Yeah.
Imagine him coming down and causing, Okada or something like that, an issue, and going, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? He could. So it's interesting where they go here. But I definitely think within the next 3 months, he's got to be your guy, because, I mean, there's nobody that is more money than MJF. Nobody within that company, other than CM Punk, in terms of the merch he can shift. But that's you're looking at two peas in a pod, aren't you? You're looking actually at two peas in a pod. Punk can do that when Punk's heel Punk as well, but you can't have two heels like that.
I think at the moment where it's at, Punk feels like he's probably looking into the mirror of himself somewhat.
100%.
And it's a really interesting dynamic. But I just think we'll have to watch this space and see what way it evolves, because we know sometimes these boys can bring us on a journey, and then through stupidity and booking and silly ideas, it just falls on its arse. I think this one has to be handled in the right way, that he's the antagonistic outcast who wants out, who hates the company, and will do anything to bring it down and stuff like that. And they'll just have to roll with it and see where it takes them. And then we'll see in 12 months' time or whatever it is. Was this like all just work, or was it a build up to go out on a high note and to carry the audience along in terms of a bit of reality within that world of work? So yeah, interesting.
I love it. what a great way to finish it as well, because this is the kind of stuff that brings our interest back, where it's going,
Well,
okay, I'm going to tune in on the 26th. You know what I mean?
well, I meant to say to you today as well, we can't finish on that
All right.
because we have to talk about Finn Balor.
I was going to
We
try not
have
to do so because, I'm always getting
because
accused of
because
doing this.
normally you do, and then they say, "Oh, you're always talking about your boy," so I'll bring them up. I thought they were sensational, and like the way they turned on Edge. I thought it was sensational.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I just thought it was brilliant. I don't think anyone expected it. And I just thought it was brilliant. And I thought Priest was brilliant. I thought Rhea was brilliant.
So what
And
have
I
we
thought
got going
Balor
forward then, do you think?
I'm not too sure what way this is gonna go. This is so interesting now because it seems that like I don't know what way the dynamic is gonna be, because what happens is you have a faction there, but you don't have a natural leader. You have three leaders, and it looks really kind of cool as well, that kind of way. And I just thought that the way they gave Edge that beatdown and all, I just thought it was like unbelievable. I
So
thought
they're
it was
obviously
cool.
going heel then, right?
Yeah, well, it was all heel anyway, but then they took the head of the heel and they kicked them out and kind of nearly swerved them babyface and stuff like that. And it was a nice dynamic the way they did it, that we need to change the guy who's been holding us all back. And they pinned it on Edge, which I thought was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that develops, because I thought what happens is you just come in and they'd just be a stable of four and they'd run roughshod through the roster and through the months and all that, and we kind of enjoy it for a while because it's faction wrestling and we love faction wrestling, and then it would peter out. But right from the get-go, they swerved us straight away. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this develops, especially with Finn Balor. Because as we said already, between Turnbuckle Gate and all the other crap that goes on, and the kind of the down leveling of him.
I'm still blaming
and
you
stuff
on
like
that, by the way.
Hey, look, I had big plans for him. Remember, I called big plans for him, and they let me down.
You did.
But I think I think it's about time they absolutely blew the trigger off that shotgun with him and got him going and stuff like that. Really got him going in a dynamic where he can evolve as that character and become that guy, you know what I mean? And be back there again and be interested in wrestling and smile and be in love with the business again and enjoy that element of what he does, instead of just being the guy that shows up for work.
Yeah. I kind of have a little bit of a, see, I hate making Balor predictions. That's why I'm keeping my mouth shut. So maybe I'll just keep it to myself, will I, for this episode?
Last time we made predictions, he fell off a broken turnbuckle. So we're not going to wish any of that kind of karma.
I think my listeners will probably be really pissed off with me if I do keep it to myself. But you know what? I'm going to keep it to myself.
Let's just say he's due a bit of luck.
Yeah. And all I'm going to say is that think logically and think of who he's with and who he's surrounding himself with at the moment, and then think WrestleMania, SummerSlam. So I'm thinking. Before we do go, I did promise at the start of the show that we'd have something a little bit different next week. So I'm proud to say that our biggest viewership ever, on Dynamos and on the DPN was a guy called David Weiss, who was the Flat Earth guy, if all y'all remember. Been on, Jericho show, been on a shout out to GP, by the way, because that's who got us hooked up. Shout out to Morris and GP. He's going to come back on next week, and it's not just going to all be about Flat Earth. I'm going to be very inquisitive and asking real questions on why, because obviously coronavirus is over now, it's all gone, so why is it still a thing? A lot of people want to know, and it's been one of our most requested guests, because purely they want like me, there's questions that we need to ask as to why would they lie to us. So that's what we're going to focus on. Why the lie? That's a term he likes to use, why the lie, but that's what I'm going to be focusing on. Why the lie? Why? What difference? I mean, would we lose any sleep 2 weeks later if we found out the earth was actually flat and not round? Probably not. So that's what I need to know. and I'm sure you need to know, Niall.
I actually thought, like, great guests and stuff like that. The episodes you did were absolutely brilliant, and certainly generated a lot of debate within our own WhatsApp group at the time on the
Yeah,
DPN, I remember.
100%.
But I tell you what, I thought you were about to say there, this guest is coming back on from the flat earth to tell us that he's conceded that the world is round.
No,
That's where I thought you were going with this, but obviously
not
not.
happening.
Yeah, no.
No,
Yeah,
it's not
no.
happening. And
Pretty cool guest and a great dynamic.
and a really lovely guy, to be fair, has his own opinions. And remember when we used to respect people's opinions? We still should. And also, one of the other things I'll be asking, just to get you a little bit excited, get the blood flowing, is he has a lot of talk about symbolization in movies and stuff that means and stuff. This is a guy, don't forget, that said that the Twin Towers that fell were basically the mega tower, what was it? Remember Big Boss Man and the Keem when they tagged? Was it Big Boss Man and it was Earthquake and Typhoon. Sorry, my apologies. Earthquake and Typhoon. He was like, that was Vince McMahon. That's all symbology. And I'm like, so I'm ready.
Oh, this. He's going to be talking about the script within the script, is it?
Oh yeah. So I'm. I heard that on a Chris Jericho podcast. So I'm actually going to do what Chris didn't do and ask him, how do you know? So it's gonna be interesting.
I think when we look back through history, we can link stuff to stuff quite easily, can't we? But yeah, that'll be an interesting conversation. Definitely,
gonna be
probably as interesting as the flat earth stuff, I'd say.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I'm it's going to be a little bit different. And like I say, it was actually some of our guests. It's probably been our most requested return guest, in fairness, because A, you're either intrigued by it, B, you probably think it's bullshit, whatever it is. Either way, it's interesting conversation. So that's what's going to be next week.
Yeah, as a viewer of your channel, you either want to enjoy it or you want to piss on it, but either way, we're happy that you view it. And
all I do is host it, so don't fucking blame me. I know. I believe the earth's round, so that's don't question me with that shit. But JFK, don't get me started. And until next week, I have been your host. I am Ian the Dynamo Kelly, joined as always by the shopkeeper Niall Hogan, my co-host on these shows. Now, there's no point in calling you a guest anymore. You are the co-host of this show. And until next week, Dynamo, Niall, we are over and out.